Hello and welcome to episode 4 of We Conquered All the Bostik, the only podcast dedicated to Enfield Town FC. To orientate you as a listener, we're recording this a couple of days after the 2-2 draw away to Hornchurch. It leaves Town in 21st place on 20 points from 21 games. So it's 2 consecutive away draws, which followed 2 consecutive home wins. That's the current situation. We've got a special guest in the studio today, but before we come to him, let me introduce our regulars. I'm Michael Akier, your regular matchday commentator, and with me are 2 regular matchday co-commentators. Paul Manell, great to have you here, and to greet your listeners in festive spirit,
ho, ho, ho.
I thought we could suggest what's the song title or lyric from a Christmas song or Christmas carol that you would use to describe Town's current situation?
Well, hello everybody, and if you are listening before Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you're listening after Christmas, Happy New Year. I think I've covered everything. Have a very pleasant Easter. So looking ahead, obviously, like all towners, I'm dreaming of a 6-point Christmas, like we all are. And I was struggling to think of a lyric to sum up the season so far. So with my really optimistic head on, super optimistic head on, it's beginning to look like we're staying up. That's very optimistic,
yep.
Seeing as we're in the bottom 4 at the moment. But yes, that's the best I could do.
Okay,
We'll take that.
Hello also and welcome along to another of our regular matchday commentators, John Manatara. And again, I'll ask you, greet your listeners in festive spirit, a song title or lyric from a Christmas song or a Christmas carol that describes Town's current situation.
Well, first of all, Merry Christmas to all our Towner fans, and any time travellers for New Year and Easter, as Paul alluded to. I think my Christmas song would be to sum up part of our season. Quite a few times actually. It'll be jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it would be if we didn't concede late again.
Here to that. Yeah.
And my backup one, just in case somebody had it, was, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better be good, I'm telling you why, 'cause 3 points are coming to Town.
Hey.
Unless we concede late again.
You've got a lovely voice.
Usually it's famous of the Arsenal choir.
Thank you very much, John and Paul. And so introducing this episode's special guest, he's been a journalist for over 5 decades. He's been a director here at Enfield Town. He's currently the club's press officer. He's the voice you hear asking Gavin McPherson questions in the post-match interview. It is the one and only Andrew Warshaw.
What a sensational introduction, Michael. Thank you. I'm not too happy showing my age about the 5 decades, but anyway. I've got a Christmas one as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone. And as the boys said, Happy New Year if you hear this after the holiday. John sort of stole my thunder with the Bruce Springsteen lyric. I just had Santa Claus is coming to Town, get it? Town. But I had a backup, just in case, as you said, John, somebody nicked my main one, which you did. So my voice, I wanted to be a rock and roll star in the old days, but I can't sing. But I'll give this a go, paraphrasing again, like you guys did. So I'll sing it, if I may. Last Christmas, it felt like despair, but we're far better now, despite the odd scare.
Yes, that's really good. Yeah.
Lyrical
Really hard
genius.
to have George Michael, right?
Yeah, Lennon and McCartney.
There you go.
Watch out there. That's amazing. Yeah, that's right. And true.
That took all of 12 hours to think.
We were in despair, weren't we, last Christmas? I don't think we're quite in despair this year.
No, exactly.
No, big difference.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think we're doing so far? As I say, we're gathering together today on the back of 2 draws away from home, including one at the league leaders, Hornchurch. Those followed 2 home wins. It's been a quite truncated last month or so because we had the massive gap with the ridiculous postponement. But how do you think we're doing? Is this a time for despair, or is this more come all ye faithful?
Well, when I use my dodgy lyric, it's beginning to look a lot like staying up. That's kind of how I feel. You look at the table and we're in trouble. We're in the bottom four.
I actually didn't get your lyric. Who's sung that?
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm the only one.
I was forced to watch Home Alone 2 last night, and it was in there, and I suddenly thought, I can use that. But that's how I feel, because I think if you look at the half the season so far as a whole, I think performances don't quite equate to where we are on the table. I think we put in some pretty rubbish ones occasionally over the season when we haven't played well, and Gavin's been the first to admit it, but I think a lot of our performances have been really good, and we haven't really got the points tally we deserve. And having watched this through this first half of the season, I'm pretty confident that we're going to stay up. Much more confident than I was this time last year.
I feel 100% the same, and I think the litmus test as well at Hornchurch, when we played them twice, really we could have got 4 points with a bit of luck. Really 2 rebounds from the home game, which we conceded late to lose 1-0, but that could have easily been a draw, or we could have won that game, I remember correctly, and the same on Saturday. A late one yet again, but we could have easily sneaked 4 points against the leaders, so definitely in a false position, and hugely optimistic without jinxing us.
I think we are in a false position, because I wrote in the match report after the Hornchurch game, if you look at the league table, we've got the best goal difference of anyone in the bottom 7. So
that's often telling, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah.
In terms of I think it's a fairly good barometer of how we're playing and how other teams look at us as well. I know for a fact that the Hornchurch people gave us a lot of praise with Gavin after the game, but sadly we couldn't see it out.
No. But that performance, I think we're going to talk about the Hornchurch game, aren't we? I mean, the team at the top of the table have been up there all the season, haven't they? They didn't lose a game until November, did they, Hornchurch? And they've got a great home record. We gave them a hell of a game on Saturday, didn't we? Yeah. We bossed the first half. We were the better side in the first half, and in the second half we defended really well.
Yeah, we looked at the team at the top of the league in the first half.
Yeah,
first half.
Yeah, without a doubt. So if that performance is anything to go by, then I think we're in a pretty decent position to stay up.
And also we had a big gap, don't forget, playing first team matches as well, so considering the thrown at the deep end away to Hornchurch, it's even more to
that's a really interesting point, John. I mean,
it could be a rest, I guess, as well for players.
It was, I think we all kind of agreed with Gavin, we didn't quite know how that was going to go. Would that long rest have sort of galvanised the players both physically and mentally, or would the lack of match practice have been a factor? Well, luckily it proved the former.
I thought we looked very sharp on Saturday.
Yeah, we did. From the off.
We did.
From the off.
Very sharp with our passing in the first half. And then we kept going as Hornchurch put pressure on us, and it was last gasp defending, a lot of great blocks and interceptions, but it was still there.
That was the point that did strike me. In the first half, the defending was good, but it was quite high up the pitch. I was impressed by Jones and Donaldson, who came into the back three. It was a makeshift back three, and we'll come on to that later. I was impressed with them because of the way they were reading the game and intercepting. It was interceptions rather than tackles. Second half, it wasn't so much interceptions, it was last-ditch blocks within the penalty area. And that said to me that we've sat a lot deeper.
Well,
we did sit deeper, Michael, but they were. If you're top of the league, you're always going to have a spell. And I think you're absolutely right, Michael. Probably were a bit too deep, but they were going to. They couldn't have been much worse, Hornchurch, than they were in the first half. Let's face it, really.
And I was just going to say that they looked better when they were down to 10 men. Actually, in a
didn't
straight way, Hornchurch, didn't they?
Yeah.
That lad Weston came on, didn't he, on the right hand side?
He was good.
He made a big difference. Yeah. So we were hanging on a bit, but they were really putting their bodies on the line, weren't they? Yeah. Some of those blocks inside the penalty.
Yeah, if you look at the highlights again, we had some fantastic blocks. We really did. I'm still really annoyed about that Hampton and Richmond game because the knock-on effect, in all kinds of ways, in terms of both at the time where Hampton and Richmond were, plus the financial aspect for us. It's just another blow of many blows that we've had this season. Not of our own making. Yeah. No?
Yeah, I agree. It's just part of life. We've got to get on with it. It's very frustrating, particularly because the pitch just wasn't that bad.
Yeah, you saw it, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw it as well.
There were no puddles on the pitch, and we actually to get here, walk through the Donkey Lane pitches, and there were games going on there.
Oh my goodness, that's
Or much worse.
Yeah, much worse. The goal mouths were muddy, admittedly. I can definitely accept that. But
Beginning of December, you can expect that.
Well, A, was it dangerous? No. And B, if that's the precedent, if that's the cut-off point for postponements, then we won't play another game here until the summer, because it's always going to be a bit sodden.
It's the cost implications as well, isn't it? It costs a few grand just to postpone it so late as well. And as well as the rhythm that the team had, like you said, Hampton, Richmond, Borough, team we could get a few
potentially
points as
there
well.
for the taking, John.
And we missed that opportunity, and now we're just about in the relegation zone, but realistically could have been quite out of it, in a comfortable cushion.
They just sacked their
Christmas.
manager as well.
As I say, they were probably that was the best time we could have played them.
Yeah, without having brought in a new manager at that point. So
Exactly.
Slightly rudderless, but
Exactly.
such is life.
But we're rolling on. Hornchurch proved that we're back on track.
I think with the Hornchurch game, just lastly from me on the Hornchurch, I think Gavin made a good point afterwards to say that, if you can't, the jury's out really as to whether that was one gained or two dropped until the rest of the Christmas and New Year period is out of the way, and then we can look back and think, well, did we drop two? Did we gain one? I think it's a bit early.
It's the way with the draw, isn't it? It's a funny quirk. You get a draw, and it's always the perspective on that depends on what happens next. You win the next game, and that draw looks great.
Especially as we're at home next.
Lose the next game, and suddenly that draw.
So we'll be looking, I think, for a minimum of a point on Boxing Day, hopefully 3.
Well, Gavin's got. You won't tell me what it is, but Gavin has a points tally in mind from the holiday period. As I say, I don't know what it is, but we could probably hazard a guess.
Yeah, we could. I think probably 3 points on Boxing Day.
7 points, I would have thought, over the next 4 games.
What period does that include?
So
is that Boxing Day?
That takes you up to
Hemel and Tottenham.
And I don't know if Tottenham's included, actually. But
well, let's play that game.
Okay.
Are we including Hornchurch?
Yes, we're including Hornchurch.
Let's try and guess.
Hornchurch away, Chelmsford home, Hemel away, and Tottenham away. So that's difficult looking fixture period. 12 potential points there, of which we've already had.
I fancy a point at Hornchurch.
You know what? I'm right there, John.
Before the match, I would have taken it, to be honest.
Those 4 games, then, one at home to Chelmsford, the other 3 away. What's solid takeaway from that?
I think 5 minimum he would have had in mind, maybe 6.
I think I'm up 7, maybe.
I would have gone for potentially, obviously Hornchurch, I'd say. So we got Chelmsford, I'd hope for 3 points.
Yeah.
Hemel, that's the one you could get.
It's a tricky game.
Tricky one. It could be a point.
Well, hang on. So before we carry on, should we not include, because that takes us to the 6 games in 3 weeks, should we not include the Hampton replay? I think we should.
Oh, that's the 6th, isn't it?
That's
the
6th
of January.
So let's include that one. So I think 7.
It's getting too mathematical for me. I'll have to take my shoes and socks.
So we're all thinking Chelmsford is winnable. That's potentially 3.
And we beat them away last year.
Did a double, yeah.
So Chelmsford, Hampton and Richmond at home, even though it's not the ideal circumstance anymore, we think they're beatable.
Yep, definitely.
Got a new manager bounce, they might have, but
but at home.
But at home, I'd say those are 6.
And then there's Tottenham and Hemel away.
Tottenham, their recent form hasn't been that good, has it? They slid down the table. I think they won on Saturday, didn't they?
I'd say I'd go for 8.
Did they lose? Oh, okay.
8. But would you be comfortable with 7, John? I think I would. Probably.
I'd be comfortable with 7.
Because as Gavin often says, we're going to lose football matches.
Yeah, of course.
So let's say we lost one of those. Then you're talking maybe 7 points.
Yeah.
I think 7 points.
7s would be
pretty decent.
What do you think, Michael?
Yeah. I think so.
Excluding Hornchurch.
I think it's maybe a bit optimistic to think we'll win both the home games, and it'd be great. Realistically, we'll win one of them. I'd say draw one of them.
Yeah.
Hang on, that's 4, 5, 6 including 3, 4, 5 including Hornchurch. Yeah, that works.
And then maybe a point. Take what we can away.
Where have we got to with this conversation?
Not forgetting we've won our last 2 here, haven't we? So it's becoming a little bit of a fortress. So including Maidstone.
Winning at home, drawing away. It's
a good run we're on now. So just keep that momentum going.
Yeah, we'll come back to Enfield Town in a moment, but Andrew, since you're here, and as I mentioned, you've had this long and distinguished journalistic career. you pick out some highlights from your journalistic career?
Don't know about distinguished.
What made you get into journalism?
So I wanted to be a rock and roll star, but I couldn't sing.
But you look the part.
Which, we've got, what do you call it? Face for radio? Is that what you guys call it?
Your voice was very impressive earlier.
Was
I
it?
thought. Yeah. Not quite rock and roll star, but not
Anyway,
bad. Crooner maybe.
I have just picked up my harmonicas again after 50 years of them being in a drawer. But that's another story. It was luck, Mike, John. I answered an ad. I was a T-boy for would you believe, for a men's fashion magazine, which is I'm the least fashionable person on the planet, as my other half will tell you. So that was really the start. Then I got a job there, and then I went into local newspapers, as people did in those days.
That's right.
Then I progressed to one of the two biggest international news agencies in the world, where I spent 13 years at Associated Press, and then went to the European and was sports editor then. And after that, I was freelance for 5 years, roughly 5-6 years, working for every single national newspaper on the planet to try and earn a living. And that's kind of it. A couple of books in between.
Does that mean you spent a lot of time abroad?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 9 World Cups, I think, altogether.
Well, those have got to be amongst your highlights then, World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, they're very stressful, Michael. I found them incredibly stressful.
Is that because of the travelling?
It was the travelling, the deadlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, as you guys already know, I've always been the world's worst person technologically. So I struggled big time, and my peers have so many stories about me screaming in press rooms about how this ... thing doesn't work, and does anyone know how it does? And so that plagued me throughout my journalistic career.
Just asking on the technology, because I share your phobia about.
You're very good at it.
I'm okay, but did you find it got more difficult as journalism became more computer based?
Yes and no. Yes, because the technological side I found difficult. No, because it was a bit more reliable than ringing up a copy taker on a Saturday afternoon and delivering 400 words of pretty rubbishy prose of a particular game. So yes and no.
Right.
Computer's never been my best friend, really.
What's your favourite travel memory?
Oh gosh, favourite travel. Well, I loved the World Cup in Korea. I think of all the World Cups I've covered, that was probably my favourite.
2002, wasn't it?
Mm. Yeah, I was in Seoul, and the whole kind of pink thing with Korea, everybody wearing pink, that was the thing.
Yeah.
Korea, and of course they progressed in the tournament and shocked everybody. So I think that was probably, in terms of World Cups, my favourite. But there were scoops along the way. Guess probably I didn't write it, but probably the best scoop I was involved with was Bosman. When I was sports editor of the European newspaper, I had correspondents all over Europe, writing in and providing ideas and copy. And one day, our correspondent in the Netherlands and Belgium contacted me about a court case involving someone called John Mark Bosman. And as sports editor, I thought, a bit dry. Don't think anyone would be slightly interested in this. So he said, well, I'm going to send it in, do what you want with it. So we splashed it, which to a layman's terms, that a layman's word, that means if you splash a story, it means it's either on the front or the back. In my case, it was the back, because I was a sports editor, and the sports pages were at the back, I think, or in most papers. And of course, it was considered incredibly boring at the time, and people were writing and saying, "Really? Is that going to have any effect at all on anything?"
Little did they know.
And the rest, guys, is history.
Exactly. Massive effect, a knock-on effect.
So
transformed football, didn't it?
Totally.
While I'm on the subject, I think, Michael, you were going to ask me anyway, but funniest moments at a game. I'm going to pick 2 out, if I may, before we move on.
Of course.
I always wanted to go to the World Cup as a fan and not as a journalist, because I'd never done that. First World Cup I went as a journalist was 82.
Right.
Wow, what a World Cup that was.
great.
Yes.
My days.
And
Italy-Brazil game.
yes, but I
Germany,
didn't always,
France.
don't forget, I was part of a team, so I didn't always make the latter stages, but I remember, so that was Spain, wasn't it?
Spain.
My memory is not as it was. I remember anti-Franco protests and people singing songs and celebrating the sort of demise of Franco, standing on the tables and singing and dancing. Then in Mexico '86, I was desperately ill. Somebody dared me to eat a Mexican delicacy. Well, they told me it was a Mexican delicacy, and it was worms. And I ate some worms. And
Not live ones.
Yeah, well, no, not live ones, but dead ones. But apparently, they actually served these worms in the restaurant, and I got an amoeba, and I was on honey and rice for the rest of the World Cup for 3 weeks. I was desperately ill. But the funniest moments, I was going to mention one that I didn't. That's Qatar. I'll pick out a couple of funny moments before we move on. I went to Qatar with my cousin, and it was, again, ... hot in Qatar.
Yeah.
Really hot. And although it was great in a way because you could watch, we watched 6 games in 3 days because the stadium was very close to each other. We got very, very tired at times. And on one occasion, I said to Nicholas, look, this is 45 minutes or an hour, no more, an hour and 15 minutes walk from the metro. I'm not doing this, it's too hot. He said, well, how else are we going to get there? Anyway, long story short, they provided in Qatar these sort of golf trolleys for physically impaired fans, shall we say. And I spotted one that wasn't being used. And so my cousin and I both sort of took it in turns to stand on the golf trolley and be pushed by the other one. At which point a steward, or one of the bigwigs, a security guy, spotted us and came up to us and said, what's your disability? And we saw him just coming up. So I can't stand up to show you, but we pretended we both had leg injuries. Instead of, like walking like this. Anyway, long story short, he let us carry on. And we got to the stadium on this golf trolley and we ditched it.
Until a goal went in and he saw you both jump up.
Yeah, that's right, good point.
It's a miracle!
It's a miracle.
He's been cured, praise the Lord.
It's a miracle. In Bilbao in I mentioned 82, but I brought some notes with me because my memory's not as it was. In Bilbao in 82.
Where England were based, weren't they?
Yes.
Group stage.
I asked, this is legendary, apparently. Joseph Venglos, who was the manager of Czechoslovakia at the time, was presented with a box by the FA.
Right.
And I asked him, he put it on the table at this press conference, and I asked him twice what was in the box, which I thought was a reasonable question.
Very much so.
It was a gift, and I wanted to know what it was, because I wanted to put it in my article. And he wouldn't tell me. And I asked him 3 times, and he still wouldn't tell me. And at the end, after the 3rd time, I was told to shut up by the media officer sitting up at the desk alongside him, and someone else asked a question. Anyway, for some reason, this "what have you got in your box" became the stuff of legend, and my peers keep reminding me of 82 and
so became your unofficial
hassling Joseph
catchphrase.
Venglos. Yes.
Yeah, what's in the box?
And what's in the box?
Have you stalked him since then to find out?
No, I haven't. So there's a couple of the best sports event I've ever been
Manager
to.
of Villa, wasn't he? Joseph Venglos.
Yes. But that, I
I would have
think
gone to the game specifically. What's in that box?
just 2 others before we move on. I think probably the most serious and what's the word? Well, Bosman was very consequential, but I think I specialise. I didn't say to you this. I didn't tell you this, guys, but I should have done. For the last 15, 20 years of my career, I specialise in the politics of football and FIFA, UEFA, that sort of thing. I was on Talk Sport a lot.
A lot of politics when it comes to FIFA.
And that's just what you took the words out of my mouth, because it was one of those I was there moments in 2015 in Zurich when the FBI raided the hotel where all the FIFA bigwigs
There's a
were.
coincidence, Andrew.
Yes.
Just happened to be there, did you?
Just happened to be there. No, but I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good, very good,
No
very good,
tip-off,
Michael. I did just happen to be there, and of course it led to the biggest corruption and vote rigging scandal in FIFA history.
You didn't say to Sepp Blatter, what's in that box?
No, well,
What's in the case?
box is.
Yeah, indeed.
Best sporting event I've been to, two actually that weren't football. One as a fan, one as a journalist. Journalist was when Barry McGuigan won the world featherweight title in '85.
At Loftus
huge
Road.
boxing fan at Loftus Road. And in those days, this is a nice little anecdote for you, Michael. In those days, you didn't have mobile phones, of course, and you had to order landlines in advance in the press area. And as Barry McGuigan knocked out or stopped Eusebio Pedrosa, a fan, just as I was about to, because when you work for agencies, you've got to be bang, right on, right, you can't mess about like in newspapers and wait and then file your copy and wait till the next day. With news agencies, it's right then, it's immediate, like AP and Reuters and AFP and all the others. I was just about to file my copy. Sorry, Mike, this won't take long. And somebody ripped the phone. A fan jumped up from the chair. He said, "Is that your phone?" And I said, "Yes."
It's Australian, was it?
He said, "But actually, no, he was from South Africa." He said, "Is that your phone?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I've got to ring somebody." So I said, "What?" I've got to ring. And he nicked the phone. And I was late with copy. And he said, "He's done it. He's done it." Down the phone to his missus in Dublin. And I thought, "Give me the phone back." But there we are.
Life of a journalist, like.
There we are. That's a few little anecdotes, fun stories for you.
Thank you.
I missed out in Britain winning the Davis Cup, which is my favourite sports event on all time. I was a fan, I didn't go as a journalist, but I went as a fan. But I loved the Davis Cup.
Right.
And then Britain beat.
Was that Andy Murray inspired?
Andy Murray inspired.
Yeah.
And my favourite sports event of all time, not football, not tennis. Guess.
Cricket.
Golf.
Ryder Cup.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Of all time, and the last one absolutely blew me away. Now I'm going to shut up for the next half hour.
Right, let's get back to
It's always good beating the
Towers.
Yanks.
Thanks for that, by the way, Andrew. So-
Yeah, that's really
Sorry,
good.
when I
We'll come,
Sorry,
we'll come
Michael.
back as well to how you got
Flamboyant
involved with
career.
Town in particular.
Yes.
But talking of Town,
Yes.
we've got this little run of form. I want to shine the spotlight on Cian Dillon. Is it a coincidence that has the uptick in form, uptick in fortunes coincided with Cian Dillon coming back into the team this season? Because when he plays, seems to get the best out of Lamar with slightly tweaked the formation since Cian's come back in. What do you make of Cian's impact since his returns to the side?
It's been definitely a contributing factor to the form, but not entirely down to Dillon.
No, I wouldn't
but
say he's the only reason.
It's been a key part, and I think he exudes confidence and aggression and power when he's on that pitch, I think. So I think it boosts the team, that morale. He marauds forward, he's got like Rooney-esque stature about him as well.
He's a terrier, isn't he?
Yeah, and you need that, and he opens up space. I think it was very clear and transparent when you saw the Farnborough game, I think the 5-1, with the dynamics of Lamar and
That was the
Dillon.
first time they played together.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
first time, and spotting each other, creating gaps, and it was, I think it was instrumental. It's a key factor to, form. And last season when he came, he was quite an impactful sort of young man, but I think he's got better. Actually, the more games he plays, the more you'll see it evolve, I guess, as well.
He must be a nightmare to play against if you're a defender, because he doesn't give up. He's always harrying you. His control is excellent. He loves running at defenders. And also, the thing about him and Lamar is both of them like drifting wide, don't they? So if you're a centre-half, that must be difficult. I mean, do I go with him or do I leave it to my full-back? And then their movement, they're always moving, aren't they? One of them goes wide, the other one's drifting into the box, and they've combined really, really well for a number of goals we've scored in the last few games. So I think certainly Cian Dillon's it's very important.
Oh, listen, the boys have. I can't really add to what the boys have said, because the two up top with Lamar have worked a treat since they've been together. And Cian, for someone, he doesn't look like he's got a very physical build, but boy, is he strong in terms of holding off players. And his hold up play is magnificent. Not just a goal scorer, brings other, as you said, brings other players into play. It's long may it continue. Well, I think it's him and Lamar as one of them. The last 4 or 5 games has inevitably scared the pants off the opposition. So at least one of them. So long may it continue.
We've got him, I think, at the moment until the end of next month, end of January.
From the Jan,
Yeah.
Is there any chance, do you think, that we might have him?
It's not one. It's not one yet that I've asked about, actually, but I will, Paul, when nearer the time, because we need him.
Very much so.
Yeah. As I say, he brings out the best in Lamar.
Yeah.
And also, I think back to all the strikers we've cycled through over the last couple of seasons. Some of them, Noitachakis springs to mind. Before he arrived, he was banging goals in. Came to town, just had a drought, and then left town and starts banging in the goals again.
As players tend to do. Like Hutchinson's doing at the moment.
But I wonder, is there something in the type of player? Because Dylan and Hutchinson and Chuku are very different types of players. Dylan's a smaller, more agile, perhaps, a bit more energy about him. Is that the sort of player we need up front to get the best out of him?
And interesting on Dylan, he hasn't been scoring loads of goals, has he?
No.
You know, I think
That's a good point.
I think he's got one goal, has he, or two, maybe a couple, I think.
But it feels like he's got
I think
more.
He came close to Farnborough when he hit the bar. That was a great move from Dulles. Yeah.
But he's getting the best out of Lamar, who has been scoring goals, who has been on a pretty good scoring run. So he's
And even on Saturday against
He creates
Hornchurch,
a
that
lot.
second goal, it was all Ollie Davis puts us away, but it was Dylan's work, wasn't it?
yeah, he creates chaos, and then
does.
People like Lamar and indeed Ollie Davis on Saturday are capitalising on that, aren't they? So it's the work he does. It's not necessarily his goal input, but yeah, I think he's the sort of player who just certainly with Lamar up there, who can just be a great foil for Lamar, just someone alongside him who works so hard, and as we said, constantly a menace for defenders and. Great close control. That run he made across the box, so we all wondered where he was going. And he had a little
Like an
shot.
Uber drive, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wheeling away.
but he had a shot deflected to Ollie Davis, and he put it away. So
I think also, Michael, sometimes if you've got two forwards, you worry about if one of them gets injured, or is one, isn't it? Who have you got to come in? But I really think now the bench is strong. Ollie, I'm a huge fan of Ollie Davis. I think he's got fantastic skill. And, quite frankly, let's face it, if it wasn't for the two we got up top, he might play more. He's not an ultimate striker, we know, but nevertheless, quick feet, good control. I think Ollie's, I've got a lot of time for him. I don't know about you guys.
And we've got options, but like I said, I think with Dylan, it's not so much just the scoring, he's been a terrier there, and even if you compare it, he draws defenders away as well, creates gaps like for Lamar or even Sam Young, somebody's pushed forward. If you notice the way Arsenal playing, Gyökeres does that.
Oh my God! I knew. Hang on. How long are we into this podcast?
Similar sort of role though, taking players away and undervalued by the press, some members, but that's the style of play that seems to be indicative every level I've spotted, even when I went to...
The often unseen, unselfish work.
Yeah, unselfish work. I actually noticed that just as spy at a National League North game last week, and there's a similar outlet. They were doing that tactics more familiar now, that drawing, creating gaps, and it creates a free role, like, say, for the other players that we have. So
by pulling players out of position.
And unexpectedly, rather than thinking, they're going to be direct. So I think it works really well, at different levels.
And when you've got two mobile forwards like we have at the moment, that's what they do, because they're not just standing up there waiting for the long ball down the middle. They're going out wide.
That's the thing. Dylan's mobile, as I was saying. Chuku, Hutchinson, they have their attributes, but you wouldn't say they're the most mobile.
No, that's right.
Basically. Andrew, you touched on the point, we've got a lot of strength and depth with our strikers. The flip side of that is the implications for the strikers who aren't getting games. Eli Ackerson perhaps not so much of an issue because he's young and he'll get his chance in time. But Tommy Woods, Harry Lodevica's already been loaned out. Tommy Woods not getting much game time. Ollie Davis at the moment is just coming off the bench. What do we think of the implications? It's great to have the strength and depth, but is this sustainable, having players just not getting game time? Yeah,
well, it is an issue. As you say, Harry Lodevica went on loan, and players want to play, don't they? So you can understand them getting frustrated. Ollie Davis is getting time off the bench, and also impact time as well. He's had a real impact. It was the Maidstone game, wasn't it, where he came on and I think created the winner, or was certainly involved in the winner. And then on Saturday, of course, he got what we hoped was the winner, but unfortunately wasn't. But yeah, Tommy Wood hasn't really featured much at all. I know obviously he's had injury problems, but yeah, he might be looking for an opportunity somewhere else, certainly on a sort of joint registration basis, I guess.
And John? It's good to have a good squad as well, though. Don't forget, we went through a phase we had a few weeks ago with international players.
But that was because we had 9 injuries at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, injuries. So this way, I think we do need backup. Is we're going to get, especially the Christmas program coming up, quite a few games. We're going to get it.
And that wasn't that long ago, was it? We had that, it was the Harbour game, wasn't it? Where was it? 10, 11.
Also, the goalkeeping coach was on the bench for that.
That's honestly appreciate our bench when we've got a bench at least.
That wasn't that long ago. So you need your squad. You're right.
Yeah.
I think when I look back at this season, whatever happens, I'm going to look at those 2 cup competitions, the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, and thinking, what if, but in totally different ways? Because there's no doubt in my mind that we were the better team than Slough. That'll live with me for the whole season.
Yeah,
and there's no doubt in my mind that if we'd had literally half the players back, we'd have beaten Harbour on the day.
I think we would have. I think so. They're a good side.
On the strikers, he's not got much game time, but when he has, Eli Ackerson, as I said, he'll wait his time, he'll bide his time, but he looks brilliant. I saw him in the cup match, I think it was Uxbridge, where he only got his chance by chance because Evan Jones pulled out right at the last minute with a toe injury. So Eli Ackerson was promoted to the starting lineup and he ran riot. His pace just terrified them. He set up the goal penalty that we won. He almost got the opposition goalkeeper sent off with another example of his pace. And then more recently when he came on, I think it was the friendly actually against the Arsenal Academy 11. It wasn't so much his pace as his physicality and his upper body strength that was on show, and he got his first goal for the club then as well.
And I think you said he created that himself almost, and he gave Marley Salmon, who made his debut for Arsenal against Club Brugge. I mean, he gave him a torrid time, and he's upcoming centre back.
That's interesting.
He's really physical as well, and he's got pace, but he's very intuitive. What's happening with he's got natural instinct. So
good control as well.
Really good control.
Holds the ball up well, doesn't he? Using his strength,
and his hair's brilliant.
He's a commentator's dream.
He was a commentator's dream as well. He's still everything in place, and it was.
He looks a really good prospect.
I
think he's being managed well by Gavin as well. He's not being thrown in and playing every game and run into the ground. He's involved with the first team. He's had a couple of matches where he's come off the bench here and there. I think it's a good way just to bring him in.
Yeah, and I think he will gradually and maybe come on as sub and create havoc. They weren't expecting to be so good as he really is. And I think Marley Salmon got a bit of a shock expecting when he came on.
Big question with Eli is, does he? I thought this through the other day. Does he even make the bench if we've got a full squad?
Potentially not, but again, at his stage of his career, I think occasionally being involved in the squad's probably sufficient for him.
Yeah, I think
in 2 or 3 years' time, it might be a different question.
No, you're
but
absolutely
right now, he's only just officially been promoted from the academy.
Was he 17? Was he?
17,
18. I think he's 18.
18.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
The other implication of having the 2 up front working so well is who occupies that number 10 role, that attacking midfield role. Sam Youngs currently has that position as his own, but Ollie Davis can be used there. We've seen him to good effect, and we've also seen 1 week Hayden Bullis take that role.
He did really well. Yeah,
I think it was the Farnborough match. We won 5-1. It was the best result Town have had in step 2, and the midfield 3 was Parcell Gallimore sitting behind Bullis, who was in the number 10. So that number 10 role, discuss.
It's a nice headache to have, isn't it? Who do we play in that role? Because we've got 3 players who can play it really, really well.
Yeah.
I thought Sam Youngs did brilliantly there on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Against Hornchurch.
Really good.
Sam Youngs was my player of the month. Well, in November, I think it was when we were supposed to have done our original podcast. So you're right, it's a great situation to be in, have those options.
Yeah, he was supplementing the front 2. Obviously, he scored our first goal, but then he was doing a hell of a lot of defensive work as well. But as you say, Hayden Bullis played it really, really well against Farnborough. The great thing about having a player like Hayden Bullis is he can play that role, but equally he can play the deeper role, which again I thought he did magnificently at Hornchurch on Saturday, especially in that first half where when the ball was on the deck, he basically controlled the game, didn't he? His touch and passing.
He tends to find his positioning is superb. His tackling's good. I can't see a downside with Hayden Bullis. He's so young.
Incredible fitness as well.
Like you said, he can play in the 8 or 6 sometimes. He can drop into that role because he just reads the game so well.
6, 8 or 10.
6, 8 or 10, yeah. And for me, he's like using the Arsenal analogy, the Declan Rice equivalent, who can play in dropping both and still excel.
He can.
Thought we'd get that in just to wind up.
Can we counter this, Michael? This Arsenal love
just to torment them. What's that big gap? And then you mind the gap, 17 points. But anyway,
it's a gap in the trophy cabinet.
Trophy cabinet.
I was thinking with Hayden, when you look at a starting 11, you think, well, how would we cope without him, and how would we cope without him? If Hayden Bullis was out with a long injury, he'd be one of the players that we would miss severely, wouldn't we?
We would.
Yeah.
Although, was it Maidstone we beat without him? Wasn't he on duty for
that's
Leighton
right.
Orient?
That's right. Yeah.
And we were all thinking,
No, you're absolutely
no
right.
Bullis, but we beat Maidstone. But I agree with you. I think he's one of the contenders of. I think we're going to talk about this a bit later on. Player of the season so far. I think so.
Yeah, he's probably
he's been magnificent.
Probably my player of the season for consistency, and
He's been great.
You can't fault, and he on and off the pitch. He's just a gent off the pitch. When he's chat to win the ball.
Better than Sav? Better than Sav for player of the season?
Sav, Sav, yeah. I mean, his his pace.
Tough call.
That's
It's a tough call.
I mean, Sav, we're still going to work on a cape for Sav. So they're my two, really. I think because.
But talking of capes, I think Sam Youngs is a contender as well. Just the variety of positions he's played in, and the fact he's put his body on the line. I mean, his face has taken an absolute battering, hasn't it? The last few weeks.
Took to the pitch last
keeps
week.
going. He had a Batman mask. He had everything. Bar the cape. That's
The cape.
Really, they're probably our three.
Particularly since he hasn't. During his career, he's hardly been injured. So it's good on him for bouncing back as he has after these.
I mean, he was my player of the month last month, Sam Youngs. He's just so consistent over the years. Let's face it, and he's a great attitude, even though he's a Spurs fan.
And if you, so two of us sitting around this table. So equally, you two. If you look at opposition programs, that if you look at programs for the away team or when we go away, inevitably they mention Sam. They always mention Sam. And rightly so.
Coming back to number 10 now, of course, there's Ollie Davis, which you mentioned, Michael. He can play there as well.
He can.
So it's, as I said, it's a great selection problem
to have,
issue to have, if you can call it that. That's right.
Further back on the pitch, I thought Joe Kizzy was brilliant when he came in. There was a worry in that first match when he arrived. There was a worry that he hasn't played for so long. How will he do? He just assuaged those fears immediately. He looked fully up to speed, and on top of that, he wasn't just a thump it away sort of defender. He was very cultured on the ball. And in fact, it was probably too good for our good, because I think Barnet saw how well he was doing. They had an injury crisis and they ended his own. Recalled him.
I was disappointed about that. It was a shame, because he made a real impression, didn't he? As you say, he was very comfortable on the ball. Very different from Henry Hawkins. Henry Hawkins is a great centre half. He wins everything in the air. But Joe Kizzy was very comfortable on the ground, very quick, read the game well. He was great and
mature, and he was faultless, and he kept going. Considering his first game back after 14 or 16 months without a full game, you couldn't tell he was super fit. He kept going the whole 90 minutes,
and didn't come cheap. Apparently,
he didn't.
But then good players never do.
No, that's right.
Worth it.
Any chance of him coming back? Do you think? Or is that it?
Pass. Not entirely sure. I think this will be one of Gavin's many decisions, or the board's decisions that they're going to have to
lots
make.
up to Barnet.
Ultimately, it's Barnet's decision.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that. I mean, I think, thank goodness, that we now have quality backup in defence who can step in. But there's no doubt about it. His stability and confidence and quality on the ball was outstanding. You talked about Henry, didn't you? I mean, I don't know, Michael, if this is a transition to make, but should he have come on against Hornchurch? Shouldn't he? It's
hindsight's 2020. So given that we can see,
I think we mentioned it in commentary, didn't we? Yeah. I mean, it was just getting towards the last minutes, and I was just thinking, we were defending deep, holding on. What managers do sometimes is bring on another centre half just to supplement defence.
That's right.
And you do wonder, with that free kick that came in at the end, big Henry Hawkins, could he have helped to get it away? Could he have won that header possibly at the back stick? Because it was headed on, and then the goalkeeper got something on it, and it was deflected in or whatever. So possibly, but it's hindsight. Who knows?
And sometimes you put a defender on, it gives an impetus for the other team to attack.
It does.
So you rock the boat with your formation.
But there was only about a minute or two left.
But I know what you're saying. And then it creates chaos for you as well as them, I suppose. It could disrupt.
Tricky one. Oh, Gav, good cop. You know, damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
We're all managers, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, look, he's done a great job.
If 5 minutes earlier we'd brought on Henry, winning 2-1 and conceded, then the argument would have gone the other way.
Of course.
There is a general sentiment amongst some fans, and I noticed this in the comments when we do the commentary. We can see the comments coming in from some listeners. There is a bit of a sentiment of frustration that Gavin doesn't necessarily make substitutions early on in proceedings. What do we think about that? Does he leave it too late for his substitutions?
Well, I think it may be in a couple of games reactive, and I think the last few games he's done them earlier. Actually, a lot of the substitutions has been more staggered than late. It varies. I think his horses for courses how we're playing that day, so you've got to give him benefit of the doubt. He knows who's fit as well. We don't know that.
Well, that's a key issue.
That's a key issue. So maybe think, why is he taking him off? You think, well, Gavin knows best in that. Let's face it. And look, he's been great since he's been here. He probably had our best years.
The substitutions, he's timed Ollie Davis's introduction as
particularly
well, I think.
Exactly, it's all about timing, and even with Eli Ackerson as well, Gavin knows what he's doing, and he knows more than we do. Obviously we're commentating what we see, but he knows the inside, what's going on, injuries.
This is where Andrew, I'd bring you in. Yeah. We commentate from the sidelines. We're not that involved during the week. You'd have more involvement. Do you get more of a sense of who's available, who's fit?
Yeah.
How Gavin's thinking?
Sometimes Gavin tells me outright who's playing and who isn't. Sometimes he knows and tells me off the record because he doesn't want the opposition team to know how we're set up. I think that Gavin's incredibly approachable. I can't remember a single time where I've asked him for a comment or a quote and he hasn't given it to me. But he does choose. He's very selective in what he tells you and what he doesn't. But I always get a gist ahead of the game as who's likely to play and who isn't.
And is the deciding factor, you mentioned a good point about not wanting the opposition to know, is that kind of the deciding factor in terms of...
One of them, Michael, for sure. Gavin often says players have got no chance when they have half a chance, and he often says they've got half a chance when they're likely to play. So I learned very quickly that sometimes he couches a reality with a little bit of caution, and so he should.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, listen. I've worked on the other side as a journalist for a long time, but as press officer, I've seen so many press officers in my time, and the relationship between manager and press officer is absolutely sacrosanct at whatever level, because I am sort of, if you like, a conduit between the manager and the fans, and it has to be built on trust. And Gavin has always been very honest and approachable.
Did you have that relationship with previous managers here?
Not all of them.
Naming no names.
I'm not going to name names, but the fans, the managers themselves, and the fans know who I'm talking about. But it's the same with the players, Paul. Yeah. I get on well with most of them. They think I'm a old fogey and an ageing hack, which is probably about right. But they're, again, very approachable. Written a few articles about a couple of them this season. I've never had one negative comment. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It works. You've got to get on with the management team to really put your heart and soul into it.
How much contact do you have with Gavin, say, in a regular week? As I say, Paul, John and I, it's just match days, basically, before and after.
So, obviously, as you know, post-match, Gavin will always come out, very honest. And then previewing the subsequent game, I'll ring Gavin up a day or two before and get his thoughts about the next opposition. Then, of course, I'm doing, as I think most of you know, the non-league paper every single home game on a Saturday, which means that I'm always late back in the bar for a drink. But normally, Michael, someone else buys me one.
So after the game, you're obviously making notes during the game.
Yeah.
Do you then go home and write up your report for the non-league paper?
It's a very good question, Paul. Normally you would do it at the stadium, at the ground, on your seat, by your seat, with a laptop, as opposing press officers and journalists do for the opposing teams. But Since I only live 5 minutes away,
Yeah.
and since I've got my desktop at home and I can concentrate much better, in my office rather than have all the distractions around here, it's far better for me to go home and do it. And then, of course, I've got the Enfield Dispatch, which is a monthly newspaper, and last but very not least, the website for match reports, player developments, previews, etc., etc. It's pretty time-consuming.
And also, those three types of match reports you've just talked about are quite different.
Very different.
Because the non-league paper, in most cases, it's a very small report, isn't it?
And has to be utterly objective. I cannot put any home bias into it.
It must be hard to fit in 90 minutes into such a small...
It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It's much harder to write 250, 300 words than it is 600 words. Much more difficult.
So it's the article.
The latter I do for the website, so I can throw in all kinds of stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
But for the non-league paper, I've got to cherry pick, and that's quite difficult.
What's the word limit you have for them?
Depends. Good question, John. Normally 250 for most reports, but then if we're the featured, what they call the featured game in the division,
that's the bigger report.
That's the bigger report. I think I've had that once, maybe twice this season.
How's your week in home and Enfield Town? How do you get the balance? How's your week work out?
I'm retired, John.
Yeah,
Don't forget, I'm retired. This is a hobby, like all of us. It's a hobby.
Yeah, not just what else do you do? Not just the football as well.
Listen,
about the real Andrew.
Royal Free Radio.
Well, hang on, Royal Free Radio. Hopefully that happens. It's only happened once, twice so far, but with Paul's help, probably I'm going to get a few more shifts. But as far as the club is concerned, John, one thing stands out, which is the book, which you know about the book.
Yes, you mentioned it. Yeah.
So I've got to get that done by June, July.
Just
maybe fans might not know this, but I've got writing a book. I've been commissioned very kindly to do a book on the Towners after 25 years. It's going to be called Towners at 25. Not a very inspiring title, but I think it's the right one.
Is it a history of the club?
In the history of the club for 25 years since we were formed, and that's due to come out in June, July. It might be a bit late because I'm very behind, but it's a labour of love, and it's pretty time consuming, especially for somebody of my age, and I lose concentration a lot. So. My other half is frequently pushing me. How are you getting on with the book? How are you getting on with the book? So, luckily for her, she's a qualified proofreader and copy editor. So,
and it's quite a story, of course. Isn't it? From the demise of the former club.
It's quite a story. Yeah. In fact, when I was researching the book, I found loads of various people have given me various newspaper articles. Some of them by me. I didn't even know I'd written them years ago when the old Independent and Advertiser were out. And I think, crikey, when did I write that?
It's fascinating. Yeah. So kind of brings us to what got you involved with Enfield Town?
Back in 2015, I think it was, I wrote an article in The Guardian about a total miscarriage of justice, which you might remember when the FA refused to allow us into a playoff for a technicality by no means of our own making, and that got me involved. But I remember I'd lived in Enfield since 2007, so I always had a soft spot for the club. So in fact, when I was researching the book, only last week, there was somebody here was covering you remember we had that Luton friendly here, Luton. Yeah, no, sorry, it wasn't us. Hearts Town against who was it?
Exeter.
Exeter.
And
the Luton Town head of media used to be the sports editor of the non-league paper, and I hadn't seen him for about 15, 20 years. And I turned up for about 10, 15 minutes, and I said, "Goodness me, Stuart, I haven't seen you for ages." And this is a classic example of me forgetting what I've done in the past, because he said, "The last time I saw you, do you know what you were doing?" I said, "No." He said, "You were covering an FA Cup tie between Eastwood Town and Wycombe Wanderers." And I said, "What?" I said, "I've never even been to Eastwood. I didn't even know there was an Eastwood." And he said, No, you were definitely there. I remember because you wrote the best intro I've ever seen, which was that Eastwood, until now, is best known for the birthplace of D.H. Lawrence. Now it has another claim to fame because they knocked Wickham out of the FA Cup apparently they did, but I couldn't possibly write anything like that today. But apparently I did back then. The main reason he remembers me is apparently because I was screaming to get out of the most minuscule press room on the planet because I wanted to get out of there. Anyway, the book. Yeah, I digress. The book's taken up a lot of time. Apart from that, John, bit of golf, bit of dog walking, well, until our poor Maisie passed away in July. But we are getting another dog in April. There we are. Breaking news.
In terms of your involvement with the club, I'm not sure you're necessarily so involved with the transfer situations that go on, but just wanted to come back to the goalkeeping situation. Our last studio guest,
that's an interesting one.
That was a kiss of death.
I hope Andrew, we don't have the same effect on you.
Reece Forster came on the show last time out.
Yeah, every player's going to be terrified next time we podcast.
Within a couple of weeks, he's out of the club. So since Reece left, we've had
revolving
Barrett, Horlock now, Hubert, Grachik's come into the club. Do you have any inside information on the goalkeeping situation?
So this isn't necessarily insight. This is fact that when you get a loan player, we all know this. You can't. It's really. You can't say for sure that he's going to be with you for the extent of the loan because he can get injured, which is exactly what's happened.
Happened to both goalkeepers.
Yes, exactly. So we've had it, Michael, not once but twice. The issue is that Tom. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Reading gave us Tom Norcroft for nothing. We didn't have to pay for him. So that was a bit of a blow when he went back. I think I've got that connection right. Yeah, I have. And I think it was felt that, we can't wait for either of these people to get fit again. Either of the two, we need a sort of third time lucky situation, which is what's happened with Hubert, who I think you said in commentary quite rightly. I think is with us till the rest of the season. But don't forget, every single transfer. I don't know much about the ins and outs, Michael. What I do know is that every single transfer has a budgetary repercussion. So if we bring in somebody who's hugely expensive, other players might suffer accordingly in terms of ins and outs.
Yep.
So we have to be very careful. The board has to be very careful with who they bring in, who they don't bring in.
Constant balancing act.
Constant balancing act. Well said, Paul. That I do know, A, from my time on the board, and B, in my dealings with the management team.
It's really useful for the fans to hear that as well, because I think amongst us alone, there's a simplistic view of we need a player, let's just bring in a player.
I've seen so many fans on so many forums saying, why haven't we signed him? Why haven't we signed him? Most of these players would be priced out of the market for us, even if they go to step 3, which some have. I think we're working wonders, quite frankly, in terms of the players we've got and managed to convince to stay, vis-a-vis the amount of money we've got to spend.
Yeah, it's very easy as a fan, isn't it? You've got to just sign in.
It's not that straightforward, is it?
Yeah. But it isn't at any level, but particularly at this level, where we've got to remember we are a small fish in a big pond, aren't we?
We are.
I mean, we were talking on Saturday at Hornchurch. There was a player who left Hornchurch who
Charlie Ruff.
Yeah,
Charlie Ruff went to Billericay.
One of Towners fans have been mentioning, well, maybe we can bring him in.
See,
and went to Billericay because they've got a bigger budget, haven't they?
Paul, a classic example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's why they drop down to step 2. There's more money. Sometimes certain clubs have more money down there.
Of course, sugar daddies.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we're almost out of time. So shall we look back and just sum up things by, first of all, we touched on Player of the Year to date. Go around the table and perhaps name who we think is our Player of the Season so far for the first half of the season and why.
Come to me last, well, I think.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? There's been some standouts. I mean, Hayden Bullis, I think, has been brilliant. Great move bringing him in for the season as well. He's been quality. His energy levels, his fitness, his touch, I think he's been brilliant. Lamar, he's been good all season, but in recent weeks he started to score goals. We mentioned Keane Dillon, great bringing him in as well.
He's been relatively recent.
Relatively recent. Sam Young's again Mr. Consistent. It's difficult. I think of anybody, I think Hayden Bullis for me. Mm-hmm. Just his touch of class in midfield.
John?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, for me, it's been like Sam Young's been outstanding. Every time he comes in, he's just so consistent. And then obviously Zav. He's just something else. He's really
you talk about consistency. My goodness.
That guy is something else.
But brilliant. He's been brilliant.
It's really hard, but I'd say
Tomo, of course, as well for his leadership.
Tomo is at the back. I mean, you need him always. He's just some of these players are replaceable. But for me, I think I'll probably go for Hayden Bullis purely if he's missed. He can play in any position to fill any gap as well. Like we said, as 6, 8 or 10 even. And it's a tough one, but I'd just edge it with Hayden Bullis, but the others are just like a fraction. Yeah. It's really hard to pick. I'd pick all three if I could.
We're missing out Andrew. Kian, he's loan, of course. We're missing out Tosh as well in this conversation.
Yeah, Tosh is. I mean,
recent weeks, I think Tosh has been fantastic.
You know what? That we were saying about midfield triangle, didn't we? Yeah. It's him, Bullis. I think even with Mickey when he came, he played about a bit of the holy trinity of a couple of games. But I think
he's been a very calm presence in that midfield, hasn't he, Tosh?
But that allows Hayden Bullis to play his free role by Tosh playing in that role.
Exactly.
So, Tosh Gallimore.
Spot on, John.
Yeah, Tosh Gallimore is crucial as well, I think, because it's good to, like you said, it's worth mentioning because Hayden Bullis wouldn't be playing as well without him being there as the hinge pin in that midfield.
That's
I
right.
think. So,
allowing other players to push forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of mutually agreed, aren't we, in that respect?
Andrew,
can we do a Sports Personality of the Year in third place? Look, I've written down Sav, Hayden, Tomo, and Sav, and Dylan. I think I'm going to go for Lamar only because I'm looking at players, and you just mentioned that Hayden's irreplaceable. I'm looking at players who scare the opposition in terms of where we are and what we've done this season. Now, he may not have scored, that many goals, got a lot, but I'm going to go for Lamar simply because of the position he plays in and who could fill. We talked about Ollie, but who could fill Lamar's boots if he was out for a considerable amount of time. I'm not saying that any of the others could be filled either, but there are people who could juggle about and try and them. So on balance, even though all the ones you've mentioned I fully agree with, Tomo and Sam, particularly Sam was the other one I had down. Sam would kill me, but I'm not choosing him, but because I'm a good mate of Sam. But I think Lamar on balance. Michael,
that's a good choice. Yeah. Sam was our choice for November before we had this.
I'm going with Hayden because I think on the Hayden Bullis on the basis that each individual game his name's always mentioned when we sort of discuss towards the end of the game who's the standout player. If it's not Hayden, he's kind of second or third, So for consistency across the course of the season, as well as what we said earlier, John, is his flexibility to play in various different positions. He trains with Leyton Orient and it shows with his fitness. It's there I suppose our opinions, but for me, Hayden,
it's a really good shout. It would have been far easier to have this conversation if we weren't doing quite as well as we are at the moment.
It's good to have these options.
It's good to have the options,
And also, players, if you're listening out there, if you buy us a pint, that could possibly sway our decisions in the next podcast.
And also, we've talked about the standout players, but there have also been a number of players who've come in different roles and done a good job.
Different times,
Yeah, I'm thinking specifically on Saturday of Rory Donaldson.
And
we were thinking, I've got a makeshift defence here. No Jav, who's been brilliant this season. But they were excellent, weren't they?
Do you know what we've got?
It was seamless. Yeah. You couldn't tell. We had a makeshift back.
We were saying, even beginner season, this is a big upgrade on last season's squad. So, like we said, we were umming and ahhing, if they can't get game time, but you get these chances, you're going to get suspensions, you're going to get injuries, and we've got a really good squad. That's why I feel we're in a false position at the moment.
Well, hence the feeling that even though we're in a similar sort of position that we were in this time last year, although we were many more points adrift, we're much more optimistic around this table, aren't we? Just because of the level of performances.
Yeah.
It's the quality.
And so finally then, the moment of the last, well, I was going to say the moment of the last month. We've only had one game in the last 3 weeks. So the moment of the last 2 months since our last podcast episode.
I'm going to go with coming from behind to beat Maidstone.
Doesn't happen often, is
It doesn't happen often. And also that Maidstone, one of many, established full-time teams in that division. That performance I thought was, particularly since it followed up our biggest win of the season, and you thought, can we do it again? Which we did.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to choose. I think that week was amazing. I mean, was it Farnborough 5-1 and Maidstone? I couldn't hope for a better week commentating. It was like
great, wasn't it?
It was it was nice to do positive commentaries, and and it was like I thought I'd do a lottery after that week, and but it also was like to be there to witness our record step 2 win. I think it was as well as the 2-1 coming back, which is an achievement, like you said, Andrew, with Maidstone United, with us all calibre. But it was quite sweet to think we're in this now and we're in this league and we deserve to be here in step 2.
Yeah.
Agreed with Andrew, the comeback against Maidstone was excellent. But I also agree with John that Farnborough game was a standout, wasn't it? Because, as you say,
Could have been more.
it was our record win at this level. And I've got down here Cian Dillon's goal against Farnborough, where there was a great run by Lamar, great control. I think he took it away from the defender and it just ran towards the penalty box. And then we all thought it was going to shoot, and then he laid it square to Dillon. And
the angle was tough.
It was a tough angle. It was a great finish.
Yeah.
He kind of squeezed it in, didn't he, from a tough angle. It was just an all-round great goal, I thought. So I've got that one as a standout.
I think mine, just to mix it up, the Farnborough is the obvious one. But from a very personal perspective as a commentator, I really enjoyed commentating on the Ollie Davis goal on Saturday. There was a nice crescendo to it, the way Dillon picked up the ball in halfway. And even before that, there was a controversial moment because all the Hornchurch fans who were sitting all around us, and they were very vociferous, they were screaming and squealing for a handball. The ref didn't give it. Dillon picked it up, ran all the way to the penalty area, and just the view that I had meant that I was able, didn't have to pause, could see straight away it's going to fall to Ollie Davis, and when it did, I was able to sort of time the commentary quite well. And then he did the knee slide, which was a nice thing to commentate
Right in front of the
Michael, thank goodness your eyesight's better than mine. Goodness me.
That was, just from a personal perspective, as a commentator, that was a great one to nail.
Yeah.
So that was
a great goal.
Thanks very much.
And great commentary as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michael, really, I think everyone, all three of you, I get so many comments about how brilliant the three of you are, so long may it continue.
And thanks for your support as well, always next to us there as well. And it's teamwork, it makes dream work, as I say, but it's fun as well, and
Great
and
fun.
we're honest as well, and we have a bit of banter, but that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Right, thanks very much, gents. Until next time, I think. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, wherever you are.
Onwards and upwards.
Yeah, keep the faith.